During my research, I came across a formula, a traditional formula for fibroids that used the bark of Kigelia. This is called iyeye akoko, which is Newbouldia laevis, Baara, which is bitter apple. This is it, I cut it into pieces, right? And this is a dried Baara, and then these are the leaves of Spondias mombin. So these four are used to make the fibroid tea. It's not boiled in normal water, it's actually boiled in something called omidun. So this is going to be a long video, but just bear with me. And I'm also going to be putting up infographics and attaching them to this video so you guys can be able to understand better. Now, I had issues with this formula. So this formula is supposed to be 600 grams, 600 grams, 600 grams of the dried Baara, and 600 grams of this, all of it mixed together, and then you put 6 liters of omidun and you boil it for 2 hours. Now, there were issues I had with this. Number one, it was not possible to make this 600 grams, 600 grams, 600 grams, 600 grams in 6 liters and actually have something that you can boil. What I ended up with was a thick mixture, and when I attempted to boil it for 2 hours, what happened? It dried up, it became like powder. So another issue I had with this is actually this particular component, which is this, the dried one. Now, the quantity that is supposed to be put in this formulation was meant to be 600 grams. If you make a formulation with 600 grams, the way I made that particular one, when I tried to replicate this formula, what happened was that what I got, first of all, dried up. So I had to reduce the quantities to 200 grams, which was when I was only able to get a small quantity of liquid. Now, that small quantity of liquid with 200 grams of this, according to the dosage they said we should use for, caused severe purging. Now, what you guys need to understand is that any formula I am trying out for the first time, or I want to test out, I test it on myself first. So I'm going to tell you that what I observed with this formula is that I was stooling non-stop, and I almost, how will I say it, almost passed out from excessive stooling, and my anus was very sore. That was problem number 2. Problem number 3 is that, of course, you know, when you are making something and they say, oh, you make omidun. So I had to make omidun from the scratch for it. It is not everybody that can be able to make omidun. So while I appreciate the fact that these researchers actually took a traditional formula and they tried to replicate it the way it was made, it's not quite practical for the average person to make. And I believe there were errors in the proportion of the herbs that were used, because if you are supposed to boil something for 2 hours, it shouldn't be very, very thick, so that by the time you are boiling it for 30 minutes, it's almost completely dried. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Now, the way or the pathway through which this works, they said it reduces something called fibrosis, and they actually showed evidence that it reduced fibrosis. But my issue is, it wasn't easy for me to make this, except they made a mistake with the proportions of the herbs that they used. And I said I was going to contact them and ask them for more details. Maybe there was a typographical error when it was published. And I commend their efforts, okay, because it is something that a lot of researchers are not doing. They're not liaising with traditional herbal practitioners to, you know, be able to put out what they are doing out there, you know, test scientifically and everything. Yeah. So going forward, they need to optimize the preparation of this. Maybe tweak a few things. For instance, reduce this, because this causes a lot of purging. That is this. And then see if they optimize this formula, and it might be able to still work the way the paper they published worked. And then I have questions. I want to know, how did they make it? Because I told you guys they eventually had to reduce 1, 2, 3, 4 to 200 grams before I was able to boil. And even when I finished boiling, the quantity I got was so small. However, it was a very concentrated extract I got. But the purging was not here. Okay, so this is a welcome development, and I hope that more studies on these kind of formulations with, you know, traditional practitioners liaising with scientists will be done in future. I also want to add, please, that when they are doing these things, they shouldn't just tell you traditional healer to just give them the formula. Tell me, I'm sure that there was something wrong with the formula they gave these people. I mean, the person, maybe there was a mistake somewhere. Let them go, meet the traditional healer. Let the traditional healer prepare it in their presence. They will see it, the finished product from start to finish. So they know how it's done. So when they are not going to replicate it themselves, they know that there are maybe some little things you have to tweak here and there to be able to achieve it. And then I like to say, salute the traditional healer that gave out his formula. Most people don't give their formulas out. Now, this is one of the 1,001 generic formulations of fibroids that are out there. There is no guarantee that if you use this for yourself, it will work. Nevertheless, there is no harm in trying. And the results of their study showed that it did reduce fibrosis, which is one of the major pathways for fibroid formation.